Buenas and half a day, everyone. The Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation Procurement is now called to order. At the time, it's 9:07 a.m., Wednesday, August 7, 2019. The notice of this morning's public hearing was provided to senators, stakeholders, and the local media on July 31st, meeting the 5-day notice, and August 5th, meeting the 48-hour notice, thus meeting the requirements of open government law. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive testimony on the following executive appointments. Mr. John Edward G. Elau to serve as a member of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board, followed by the appointments for the Guam Banking and Insurance Board of Mr. Raymond Schnabel, Dean Maglotnia, and Leah Beth Nahalawa. So I'd like to begin with testimony from John Elau in regards to his appointment. It's basically a reappointment to the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. And I would also like to invite those who are going to provide oral testimony in support of his nomination. If we can start with Mr. Elau. And I would appreciate if you mention your name before providing your testimony for the record. This is Masi.
Half day. For the record, my name is John Edward Grape Elau. I want to first thank the Chair of the Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, and Procurement, Senator Sabina Perez. I'm truly humbled and honored to have the opportunity to be reappointed on the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. Currently, I'm the General Manager at Agree Aircon Depot and newly appointed Treasurer for the Rotary Club of Northern Guam for this coming year. For the past 6 months, I've sat on the board and learned a lot about the laws regarding alcoholic beverages, the process, and most especially the people behind it all. The team at DRT and the rest of the board have helped me tremendously in my transition into this new role. From all these meetings, one thing is clear. We enjoy working with one another and only look out for the good of the individual and the people of Guam. With your vote of confidence, it would be a privilege to continue to serve and work with the Alcohol Beverage Control Board, the team at DRT, the respective individuals and business owners, and most especially the people of Guam. Thank you, Situus Masi, and maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elau. So in your stint, that's good to hear that you're gaining more experience and working collaboratively with those in the board. So appreciate your acceptance of the renomination. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Candy Yokohama. I'm a current ABC board member, and I'm here in support of John Elau for his confirmation to the ABC board for his second term. John currently is the general manager for Agree Aircon Depot. He is a hardworking, responsible person of good moral character who has become a great asset to the ABC board. In working with John for the last 6 months, he has contributed invaluable input on the implementation and enforcement of alcoholic beverage control law. He has demonstrated his competence and integrity in his chosen profession, and he will do the same as an ABC board member. As a fellow board member, I'm in full support of John's confirmation on the board.
Thank you so much, Ms. Yokohama. It's great to see the actual outcome from his stint so far, and I do look forward to hearing some ideas as far as perhaps improving enforcement in your line of duties as a board member, as board members. Thank you.
Good morning and half a day. My name is Ray Lanetta. I'm currently the chairman of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. I've been the chairman now for going on 4 years. I've been a member of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board for about 8 years. I'm here to fully encourage and support the reconfirmation of John Elau. We have a great team, and John really complements our team. We're full on 5 members, and we get a lot of things done. Although John was not a member during the time that the board basically pushed out the alcoholic server training program. And for the first time, we fined 3 wholesalers and one store. He shows that if he was with us during that time, we would have done wonders. John, to me, is a great person, and he's very intelligent. He's diligent, and he currently serves as the board secretary. And let me tell you, as the board secretary, the minutes of the meetings are done very well and on time, with little corrections on my part. It's normally our internal requirement that the newest member become the secretary and do the minutes. It's good training for them, right? And whether you're male or female, you're the secretary. Okay? Until such time as a new member comes in, he will be the secretary, and I'm hoping that he will be our secretary for a long time. So with that. We're a great team. I would like for John to continue. I strongly request that you reconfirm his nomination so that we can do more great things for the island of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the testimony. That's a very strong endorsement. All right.
Good morning, Senator. My name is Art Ilagan. I was the former director of Urban Tax, and I was the former insurance and banking commissioner. I don't really know John Ilao, but I know his family. I know his father and his grandfather. His grandfather and my father were from the same province, I believe, and they were businessmen back then when they were alive. The ABC board is responsible for the liquor regulations in Guam, and if I am in support of John. I know John has been there in several years before. I believe that with new minds and young people, John would look at the operations of ABC, see how short they are. They are to regulate all the alcoholic beverage laws of Guam. In addition, they have a lot of other duties that they are required to manage. And one of them is gambling, the poker machines, the registration of the poker machines, and there's just too much. So for like 4 or 5 employees to monitor the alcohol beverage of Guam, which there's so many of them, violations occur. It has occurred when I was director. It was just very hard to find all these violations out there that are happening without the proper enforcement employees. So I am in support of John. I hope John continues his work. It's a voluntary work, and I know it's hard to find people to volunteer for these types of boards. So especially when they get sued for $50 a month or something like that. Sometimes it's not worth it to put yourself in front of the people and take what they throw at you and still volunteer and help the people of Guam. So I am supportive of John. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Logan, and for everyone here that has come in support of Mr. Ilao's nomination. And I just want to thank you so much for continuing serving Guam. So, Tzuzus Masi.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. So, if there are no other testimonies in support of Mr. Ilao, I would like to call up the next nominee, and this one's for the Banking and Insurance Boards, Mr. Ray Schnabel, and anyone who's here to testify on his behalf. Mr. Schnabel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson and committee members. The nominee to the Banking Insurance Board, I thank Governor Leon Guerrero for reappointing me. I had previously served on this board, and my term just expired. I have 35 years of insurance industry experience as Chief Operating Officer of Calvo's Insurance. In addition, I serve as the current chairman to the Insurance Association of Guam, which a position I've held for the last 5 years. And I'm able to say that my experience in the insurance industry is somewhat unique, where half of my experience is on the property and casualty side during my early years of my career, and the other half is on the life and health side up to this day. Now, given the conflict of interest inherent in the membership composition of the Banking and Insurance Board, I also feel that my experience as a managing general agent should be valuable. As a managing general agent, you need to balance the interests of the insurance carrier and the interests of the consumer, which I feel is exactly the goal of the regulatory agency and the board. If confirmed, my hope of continuing efforts in helping Ms. Shimizu, the Banking and Insurance Division, and the rest of the board members in accomplishing its mission. I thank you and the members of this committee for your time, and I certainly hope that my nomination will warrant your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Tsuzuz Masi, Mr. Schnabel, thank you for accepting another 6 years to add to your 30-plus years as a member of the board. I do want to also acknowledge that the law does recognize that in cases of conflict of interest, that those that do have interest in the industry are prohibited from engaging in the proceedings. So the law does protect those sort of conflict of interest from occurring. So thank you again for serving and for testifying today.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Sorry, I would like to also recognize my colleague who's joined me here today, Senator Therese Terlahi. Thank you so much. And we also have Mr. Logan.
Good morning, Senators. Morning, Senator. My name is Artie Logan. I am in support of Ray Snabel's nomination as a member of the Banking and Insurance Board. Ray was a board member when I was the director of Rev and Tax, and he was also a member as I was the Banking and Insurance Commissioner. Ray's career followed his father's footsteps. He has been in the industry for over 30 years. He is the president of the IAG, the Insurance Association of Guam. This association has membership of most of the insurance companies in Guam and agents in Guam. They were instrumental in setting up the continuing education of insurance agents and brokers in our endeavor to comply with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners and the National Insurance Producers Registry. The benefit of the National Insurance Producers Registry is that we get to use their licensing programs. All programs go through them. They would know everything about all our insurance agents in Guam. And likewise, all the insurance agents in the States, we would also know who they are and what they have done. And when they come to Guam, we go into that registry and we look up that person. As of now, what we need to do is comply with the NAIC and the NIPR's requirement to have CEs as required by their regulations. Ray was also instrumental when I was director in getting the car auto insurance database into our database of motor vehicles so that when people come register their vehicles, we would know if we go online, that this person has a insurance agent. And if that person even cancels his insurance, we would know that, and we should go look for these people with no insurance. Those of you who know Ray for the last 30 years, as I have, he is a very diligent worker. He pays attention to details. So and I've noticed that when I was director and insurance commissioner, he would question what's happening, what's this for the interests of the regulations of Guam. So I am in here in support of Ray. He has been there probably, I don't know if he's now the longest person in there, but I value his experience, and I'm in support of Ray. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. I would like to open the floor for questions to my colleague, Senator Terlahi.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And I'm glad to have you here also, Mr. Logan, with your experience as the commissioner. And thank you for your continued willingness to serve on this board. Can you just explain for me and for the public maybe what some of the challenges have been while you've been serving on this board, and have you seen anything that you think the board is supposed to be solving that they are not able to resolve due to any type of issue?
Thanks for the question. I believe the board, the insurance commissioner, previous insurance commissioners, have been addressing all of the issues. It's just a lot of the issues take time. They involve different portions of the industry. They involve lack of resources and government, lack of expertise, and things just move very slowly. And being from the private sector, you just have to be a little patient when it comes to government work. So I believe the Insurance and Banking Division has been hitting all the right spots. It just could move a little faster.
Mr. Logan?
One of the issues when I was director was the auditing of the insurance companies and the costs it cost them, the insurance companies, because these costs are passed on to the consumers. There are no financial advisors in Guam that are able to to audit these companies, these insurance companies. So what we do is we put out a bid, and it's a worldwide bid, and it includes Guam, and we pick 2 out of that list. By the board, we'll pick 2 out of the list, and then they would agree to the price. At times, the price is very costly to the insurance companies, and that cost is passed to companies and to the consumer. So that's an ongoing issue. We also have laws that were passed for the funding of insurance and banking. There are funds going into this fund from the operations of insurance and banking, and it goes into a special fund. And if you look at those funds, I think there's money in it, but when it comes time to use the money, they use it for other things. So I think Ray knows that, and he should look into those issues.
When you say they use it for other things, who uses it?
They won't, revenue tax, they won't release it to ISB. They would use the monies for other things. And if they look at the record, you'll find that.
All right. Yeah, you're right. The law on the fund is very clear. It's one of our strictest languages about how it should not be commingled, how it should be only used for enforcement. What about, and so I appreciate your comments on the cost of the audits. What about, have there been any challenges in particularly in regards to the insurance industry and regulation?
Well, when it comes to regulation, I think the big item has been Obamacare and trying to figure that out and navigate that over the last 9 years. It's still there are still a lot of question marks with regard to Obamacare and how it applies to this territory.
There's currently no commissioner. Is that your understanding? That's my understanding.
Well,
Or there's an acting?
acting commissioner would
Oh,
be
right.
Ms.
All right.
Shimizu.
Oh, okay. So what about the biggest complaint I'm hearing about insurance right now, particularly health insurance, are, for single persons to try to get health insurance if they're not covered, for example, under the government's plan or their company's plan. That's really the biggest challenge. Do you see that also, or do you see, is there any?
And that, unfortunately, Senator, is one of the fallout for Obamacare. Prior to Obamacare, practically every carrier had individual health insurance products that they offered, but the regulations, the rules of Obamacare just make it prohibitive, and everyone exited that business.
Do you see anything that Guam can do to help that situation?
There are a number of ideas that are possible. Some would require change in law, some would require cooperation with the government, and that could be talked about.
Yes, I'd like to see if it's something that the board can consider with their recommendations as to, especially if it's something the government can do, then let's consider it. And if it's something the law can assist with, and of course, I'd like to consider those also. Mr. Logan.
When it comes to insurance, the problem is risk. So when GovGuam goes in and they get insurance with a company, the pool is a lot bigger. So the chances of loss is a lot less. But when you get an individual who comes in, there's really no pool. So what the insurance company would take a risk on that. So when they take that risk, the risk is higher, so the cost is higher. So maybe there can be some kind of pooling of the individuals where some funding can go in there to help them to reduce that cost, and the risk would be a lot less.
All right, and finally, thank you. I'm looking forward to those ideas. But finally, so I've asked some of the other nominees also this question. So if you're, the board is set up this way, and the chairman described it, that and you said there's an inherent conflict in this board, that the members are composed of people in the industry. And so I just want to know how you have personally dealt with that, and how would you advise others on this board to deal with that?
Well, at the end, Senator, the board is merely an advisory board, and listening to the expertise of the banking and the insurance industry is one thing, but at the end, it is the insurance commissioner and the regulators, I would imagine, that make the final decision.
All right. Do you think that any of the laws regarding the insurance commissioner need revision?
Well, I'm sure everything can always be improved, but I think they are fine for now.
All right. Mr. Logan, as to the insurance commissioner?
I think that somebody who has both backgrounds in insurance and banking is the best person to fit that job, because it's really diverse. Banking is a separate audit and business separated from insurance. And insurance, most of the stuff that came through my office was insurance. Banking is, most of the banks are regulated by the FDIC.
Yes.
So when it gets audited, we just look at their audit and their financial states and make sure they're within their boundaries. With insurance, it's a little different. We have to audit them So we have we have our local auditors, and we also need to hire somebody who's licensed in that field, and we have 2 people on board for that.
All right. Well, thank you very much to both of you. Thank you very much, Mr. Schneider.
Thank you. Just a quick question about quorum. So the board is supposed to meet quarterly. What are the challenges in meeting quorum? Has the board been able to meet on a regular basis as far as quarterly is concerned?
For the past year, yes, we have.
The other thing with, so for banking, the banking industry, you basically follow federal law. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much. So if there are no other testimonies in behalf of Ray Schnabel, thank you so much for being here. And we're going to move on to the next nominee. Who's next? The next nomination hearing is for Dean Maglonia to serve as a member of the Guam Banking and Insurance Board as well. We have several members who are going to testify in addition to the nominee. If you can come up to the table. And we also have a list of people that are not going to testify but are all in favor in support of the nominee. So I'd like to begin with the nominee himself, Mr. Maglonia. If you can state your name and provide your testimony, I appreciate that.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Senator Terlahi. My name is Dean Maglonia. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I am honored and grateful that Governor Lou Leon Guerrero has nominated me to serve as the attorney member of the Banking and Insurance Commission Board. I accept the nomination with yes. The board is entrusted with the important function of implementing regulations for the administration of banking and insurance laws in Guam and modernizing such regulations when necessary. This function extends to enforcing such laws fairly and expeditiously. I firmly believe that my experience as an attorney of over 10 years and as a certified public accountant that will enable me to effectively serve as a member of the board. I have gained broad knowledge of regulatory financial matters and an understanding of policies facing our banking and insurance industries. I look forward to working with the committee and my fellow board members to implement and modernize regulations that are reasonable and that foster compliance. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify before you. I look forward to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Maglonia. We'll just go ahead with the testimonies and then we'll have questions for later. Attorney Tang?
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chairman and Senator Terlahi. Thank you for the opportunity to submit testimony in support of Mr. Maglonia's nomination to the Insurance and Banking Board. Although we may not give it much thought as we go about our daily lives, the services provided by these 2 industries play important roles in our lives and the health of our economy. Responsible oversight of these industries help protect our people and our businesses from the ever-present danger of abuse, neglect, and also ensures that Guam keeps pace with the changes in these sectors so that the people of Guam and the businesses are able to enjoy the benefit of these new services and changes in how business is conducted. Responsible regulation is also critical to keeping Guam competitive in attracting new businesses. I have known Dean for more than 4 years. I first worked with him as an attorney for the settlement fund on Saipan. He was in-house counsel for the fund. I was very impressed with his work ethic and his diligence and the quality of his work. And we eventually hired him in our Guam office, and he has been with us ever since. He has continued to develop as a very well-rounded lawyer, and last year became a certified public accountant. He is a licensed CPA both on Guam and Saipan. He is very detail-oriented and does excellent work. Dean is also a team player. He works well with others and is often asked to participate in Guam bar or court activities and to help, for instance, he helps organize many of these activities, the 5Ks, the employee fundraisers, even though he is no longer an employee with the court. In addition to strong work ethic, he possesses a tremendous integrity. He is absolutely trustworthy, and he takes his responsibilities very seriously, does his homework, and you can count on him to show up for every meeting prepared. These are vital qualities in the member of a regulatory board. Finally, as you may be aware, Dean grew up on Guam. He attended FD before going off to college and law school. Guam is his home. He embodies the virtues we so strongly associate with Guam. He's a man of faith, he has strong family values, and is a man you can trust. Without reservation, I wholeheartedly support his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Tang, for your testimony and endorsement. So the next person we have on the list, I believe is, I have Trixie Naholoa, as well as Robert Steffi. Leslie Travis?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Senators. My name is Leslie Travis. I'm an attorney practicing at the Seville and Tang Law Firm here on Guam. I'm pleased to testify in support of the appointment of Dean Vincent Atalig-Manglotnya as the attorney member for the Guam Banking and Insurance Board. I've known Dean for 7 years, first as a casual friend and a fellow member of the Guam Bar Association, and for the past 5 years as a work colleague and a close friend. I've had extensive opportunity to interact with and observe Dean in both a personal and a professional capacity, and I believe I can speak to both his qualifications and his character. I could tell you, for example, that Dean is hardworking, and that would certainly be true. Dean and I have spent countless late nights and early morning hours turning over every proverbial stone, studying the intricacies of specific legal issues necessary to the zealous representation of our clients. He often comes in on weekends, not even necessarily in furtherance of a specific work task, but in pursuit of a better, fuller understanding of the issues in his field of interest, notably taxes and finance. Dean has passed the rigorous CPA licensing exams, and he did that while practicing law, a feat that very few others have attempted, let alone accomplished. I could tell you that Dean is dedicated and reliable, that he has sacrificed his downtime, which is a scarce and precious resource in our field, to help friends set up businesses. As my boss mentioned, to organize 5Ks for the court, to serve on various committees of the Guam Bar Association, or even just to invite the rest of us out for coffee or exercise or some self-care. I could tell you that he left a promising start in New Mexico to be close to his family and to service the needs of this community, his community. I could tell you that Dean's enthusiasm and good attitude has a traceable impact on the outlook and productivity at our place of work, and that he is easily, without exaggeration, one of the kindest people that I've had the privilege of knowing. Ultimately, however, I believe the interests of the board are best served by an attorney member with two particular qualities. First, he must be competent in the subject matter that the board oversees, and second, he must conduct himself at all times with the utmost integrity. And if these qualities represent the priorities of this board, then I believe you may have found the best possible candidate for this position in Dean Manglotnya. I would struggle to think of anyone that I could possibly recommend more. For these reasons, I support the appointment of Dean Manglotna to serve as the attorney member for the Guam Banking and Insurance Board, again, without any reservation. Thank you.
Suzu's Masi, Attorney Travis, I think it's important that you're here today, particularly because it takes a vote of 8 to pass his nomination, but I think hearing these glowing endorsements would definitely help in that regard. Suzu's Masi. So the next person we have is Kim Anderson-Young.
Half a day, Madam Chairwoman, Senator Terlahi, and Senator Marsh. I am here to wholeheartedly support Governor Leon Guerrero's appointment of Dean Manglotna to serve as a member of the Guam Banking and Insurance Commission Board. Not only is Mr. Manglotna an attorney licensed to practice in Guam and the CNMI, but he is also a certified public accountant. Don't hold it against him. He comes from a family of overachievers. Putting aside Mr. Manglotna's educational accomplishments, I have had the pleasure of working with him over the past few years on a very technical land title issue, which was primarily resolved due to his understanding of the law and implementation of practical solutions. In my experience, Dean Manglotna is a solutions-driven problem solver. He does not shy away from hard work and keeps an open mind when dealing with complex issues. I believe his education, intelligence, and high moral character are exactly the qualities I would hope to find in a Government of Guam board as important as the Banking and Insurance Commission. Thank you.
Suzu's Masi, Mrs. Young. The next one, Mr. Logan, would you like to provide testimony as well?
The dean is a lot younger than me. I've known his family, his father. We are FD graduates. He was a couple of years younger than me. The common thing with the three of us is we are FD grads, and we have a tight association, so we see each other at basketball games and functions at FD. From what I know about Dean, I mean, I've associated with him, with his family. His mother's Benita. I worked with her for several years as she was the director of Rev and Tax, and with the finance team of Calvo Tenorio. And through that relationship, I've known Dean through that relationship, and I've known the father for years. Through his background of being a CPA and an attorney, and me being a prior insurance and banking commissioner, that is a very valuable asset for this commission to have such a person like Dean to serve in his capacity. Again, it's $50 a month, and anything he does wrong, he goes to jail, like all the other boards. So I am so proud of him being so young and being eager to learn insurance and banking. So I am support of Mr. Dean. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. And I'm glad that he's still here despite the going in with an open eyes. So I think the only question, I had a pleasure of meeting you, Dean, and judging from everybody's endorsement, it really confirms my first impressions with you. And I just want to thank you for accepting the nomination. But I also do want to open the floor to the questions with my colleagues, but I also do want to acknowledge Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano, who has joined me here today. Thank you, Senator. So Senator Terlahi, do you have any questions for the nominee?
Yes, thank you all for your testimony, and thank you for Dean for accepting this nomination. I guess I just want to ask you, because you are a lawyer, and do you foresee any conflicts with your clients and your work on this board?
At this time, Senator, no conflict. I take conflicts very seriously. I understand my obligations under the Model Rules of Professional Conduct as an attorney, And I can assure you that as a board member, my duty is to the board and ultimately to the people of Guam. And I take conflicts very seriously. And so I don't see any conflicts at this time.
All right. I appreciate your background and your recent the CPA. That's really fantastic for Guam, and I'm very proud of you also. But do you think, how do you foresee, I mean, I can see the board is really going to benefit from your ability to help them with, as you pointed out, rules, updating, modernizing those rules, keeping in line with the developments in the industry. And I was reading again some of the powers of the board as in regards, in relation to the commissioner, and you are advisory, but you also have some powers to like overturn rulings of the commissioner or orders of the commissioner, or to modify those in some respects. And so I appreciate the testimony that everyone's given today in regards to your integrity, and I know some of them, so their experience working with you over the years is it's important, and I'm glad to hear it, and I'm glad that that's on the record. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to your contributions. Do you I know you haven't served on the board yet, but do you foresee any areas in particular that you think the board should address immediately, that they maybe or give a little bit more attention to?
Yeah, and I think just a brief overview of the a review of the minutes show that they're really taking steps to try to improve efficiencies, like updating the online licensing application for insurance companies, and also making sure that there's oversight over money service businesses. And so there are steps that are currently being taken, and I think that we can continue to address those at the next board meeting.
All right, thank you. Yes, I think I ran into someone at Reventax who had just finished trying to update their licenses and was expressing frustration at that an insurance company. So I'm glad that the board's taking a look at that right away. And all right, well, thank you for your willingness to do this.
Thank you, Senator Terlahi. Senator Marsh-Taitano, do you have any questions for Dean?
Hafidades and Mananasi Du'us. Thank you all so much for coming out here. We have a pretty good number of people that have made it out, and it's so important that we're all part of the process and take that time to do so. And then it really helps us, as has been mentioned, to hear from those that know people that are up for nominations and get their assessment of those years of experience with the candidates. And certainly we've heard, I agree with one of the written testimonies that when I looked through the employment record and the training background, I found it to be very impressive, as somebody else had stated. One of the things that stood out to me was Dean Manglotnya had come and taken the time to meet with many, if not all of us, including myself. And I think that shows real initiative, it shows real integrity, and shows real dedication. And some of what we talked about was with some of his experience, it's working with nonprofit organizations. And that really spoke to me, because I think that's a really important part of our community that's not often understood or fully appreciated. And the fact that he had that background, I think, broadens what he brings to the table. So I thought that that was really important. And certainly he has participated in numerous organizations. Again, I think that speaks to his understanding, the time that it takes, the dedication that it takes, the thoroughness that it takes. And this is so important because what we've heard over the years is that a lot of boards struggle meeting quorum and getting their work done for a variety of reasons. And so the more that we have that have demonstrated and have this past experience where they know what it takes to be a board member and they're willing to do it again. And not only that, but he spoke about that. He spoke about assessing the landscape of Guam and seeing where he could serve in a way that was utilizing his time that he had available and was not overcommitting himself. So again, those sort of things really meant a lot to me. Let's see. As he just mentioned, he had also noted that he had done that extra diligence. He had been going through the minutes, he was reviewing who was on the board, and really working to understand the work of the board. That is something that not everybody does before they become a member. And so I think that speaks to the type of person that we'll be getting on the board should everything follow through. And things that were noted by those who do know him, the integrity, the high moral character, the dedication, the passion, the cooperativeness, the being open to hearing other ideas and other arguments. Those, again, are all very important. So I am very supportive and also very appreciative of your accepting this and putting the effort into it that you did to feel that it's a very good fit for you and that you can continue to be a good board member should the nomination go through. So Sujos Masi for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Taitano. So I do want to thank everybody who came out here in support of Mr. Dean Maglonia. I think it's really telling that Dean's employer is all in support of him being here, considering I know how hard the job is. And I think it's, and to kind of reiterate the sentiments of my colleagues, is that it's great to see such expertise that you bring to the table, as well as the fresh perspective. I think that's really critical when you're taking a public service position. And I do appreciate you accepting the 6-year nomination. And the commitment that is important, that is important to support that. So thank you again for being here. Zuz Masi to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So moving right along, we have our final nominee for the Banking and Insurance Board, Mrs. Leah Beth Naholawa. And I would like to invite all those who have come to testify on her behalf to the table. We also did receive some written testimony by Eloise Sanchez, who is one of your colleagues over at DOE. So I would like to proceed, if you don't mind, Ms. Naholawa, with your testimony.
Good morning, Madam Chair Perez, members of the committee, Senator Terlahi, Senator Taitano. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you as the governor's nominee to be a member of the Banking and Insurance Board for the Office of the Commissioner of Banking and Insurance at the Department of Revenue and Taxation. My sincerest thanks to you and your respective staff for taking the time to share the information regarding the Banking and Insurance Commission. I am honored to appear before this committee and would like to thank Governor Lou Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Joshua Tinoyo for the confidence they have placed in me with this nomination. If I am honored with this confirmation by the Guam Legislature, I will work forward to working together with you and your staff to resolve challenging issues that confront our island's banking and insurance industry. I would like to introduce my family to the committee, who is here with me today. My husband, Mike Naholoa, who has been our family's rock, provider, staunch defender, and our great dishwasher. So, full disclosure, my husband has been with the Bank of Guam for 45 years. My daughter, Trixie, and a group of GDOE students, I bribed them. Close friends, colleagues, and Pink Ball Committee members have joined me today. Without the support of my family, friends, and colleagues, I would not be here today, and I appreciate each and every one of them for their support. My doctorate degree in educational leadership, I was fortunate to have worked in both higher and secondary institutions on Guam. I was a career placement officer at the University of Guam for 11 years. During that time, I helped students choose their majors when they were stuck, when they didn't know what to major in, and I helped them with their career choices, college readiness, student employment. In 2010, the Governor Eddie Basa Calvo appointed me to be the Director of Labor, and thereafter, Project Director, College Pathway at the Guam Department of Education. At GDOE, I managed 2.5 million grant for rural low-income students. Within this grant, College Pathway Project provided additional support to help pre-kinder to 12th grade students to prepare them for college, have access to post-secondary level by addressing their educational needs through curriculum support, instructional support, program support, and resource support. Simultaneously, the four major components to meet this goal include science, technology, engineering, and math, which is STEM education, robotics, which, by the way, our students have been winning national and international competition, and some of them are here, pre-AP and AP, college readiness, online learning, all in which have been thoroughly directed and managed under my supervision. Throughout these work experiences, it has allowed me to understand the importance of financial management as it pertains to federal funds and ensuring that proper guidance is followed to adhere to federal laws and mandates. Over the past 26 years, I have been involved in various community organizations, outreach, and volunteer. To name a few, I was the former president of the Filipino Community of Guam, UOG Alumni Association, Micronesia chapter of the Society of Journalists, country director of the Asia Pacific Career Development Association, FBI Citizens Academy alum, and founder and chair of the Pink Ball Organizing Committee. Through the years, I have been fortunate to work and collaborate with a wonderful group of smart, technically savvy peers to solve complex problems by listening and learning from their experiences. Should I be confirmed, I commit to working with this committee, the hardworking staff within the Department of Revenue and Taxation, and various stakeholders, including Guam Legislature, the Governor's Office, and local communities. My goal will be to enhance the educational outreach program of the Banking and Insurance Board, and I would like to start a financial literacy and insurance information awareness campaign to provide consumers information about banking and insurance processes. As a public administration graduate, I understand the duties and responsibilities of a public servant as it pertains to government, policies, and procedures. Further, the program also provided me with the skills in understanding procurement laws and leadership skills. Madam Chair Perez and members of the committee, thank you again for this opportunity to appear before you as the Governor's nominee for Banking and Insurance Board in the Department of Revenue and Taxation. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to answering your questions as you consider my nomination.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Nahalawa. I just want to recognize that your nominee fills the position, one of three positions that are not part of the industry, and your nomination fills the position of a classified government employee, which is pursuant to the law. Yes. So I just want to make that known. Thank you. So I would just like to proceed with the other testimonies. Mr. Hermosa, before we ask questions later.
Half a day, and good morning, Senators. My name is Charlie Hermosa. I'm the General Manager for American President Lines. And thank you for allowing me to come before you in support of the nomination of Dr. Elizabeth Nahalawa. I've had the privilege to know Dr. Nahalawa both in a work and a personal setting. As a member, this year I had the opportunity to work alongside her as a member of the Pink Ball Committee. Understanding the fundamentals of how any process works is a unique trait because it takes time and perseverance to be able to push through and align the different priorities into one single direction. Dr. Nahalawa possesses this trait, and it's most evident in what she has been able to accomplish for the Department of Education through the different grants she has been able to obtain and manage. She's highly respected in the education and business community here on Guam. Her passion for what she believes is so empowering that it radiates throughout all the members of her team. As a former Marine Corps officer, we pride ourselves on mission accomplishment, and I have no doubt that Dr. Nahalawa will get the job done and provide a wealth of expertise and guidance as a member of the board. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next person, if you can state your name. Thank you.
Good morning, Senators. I'm Dr. Sesman Yola. I'm the Director for Medical Care Management of Stable Insurance. I've been working there for, I'm on my 16th year. It is my pleasure to submit testimony in full support of Dr. Leabeth Nahalawa's nomination as member of the Guam Banking and Insurance Board for the Government of Guam. As a lot of people may know, Ms. Nahalawa has been an admirable figure in the local community for most of her career. As a civil servant, she has contributed so much in leading diverse communities, including the Filipino residents of Guam. Being a prestigious educator, her education catapulted projects within the Guam Department of Education. As a passionate individual, her work as a founder and her continuing role as organizer have tremendously benefited the Pink Ball Foundation, allowing the group to contribute generous donations towards the goal and objectives of multiple nonprofit organizations. Without exception, Dr. Leabeth is an outstanding personality in local leadership. She is a hardworking, diligent, and intelligent professional who possesses superb analytical and communication skills. Her excellent hard work is greatly showcased in everything she does. Dr. Nahalawa is also very hands-on, fair, and inclusive in her management style, which creates an environment that encourages colleagues, subordinates, and external parties to work closely with her and seek guidance and direction when needed. As an experienced leader and a doctorate degree holder, she quickly learns when dealing with new initiatives. She is an honest individual, highly regarded for her strong integrity, excellent work ethics, and professionalism. She has gained highest respect and admiration from everyone in the community, especially with the Guam Department of Education. I am very proud of her nomination and confident she possesses the right professional qualifications, personal traits, and technical experience to serve the government and the community of Guam with distinction and honor as member of Guam Banking and Insurance Board. Leabeth Nahalawa has my highest recommendation, and I urge the legislature to confirm her nomination. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mendiola. Mr. Logan.
Thank you again, Senators. My name is Artie Logan. I was the former Insurance and Banking Commissioner. I've worked with Ms. Beth for several years, and there's a couple of administrations. She was under the Camacho administration and also the Calva administration. So I got to know her personally through that relationship. But her background mostly is what I'm looking at. She's an educator. She's, especially with insurance and banking in the insurance field, there's that continuing education that I've been pushing when I was there. That thing needs to go through when you license an insurance agent. They're there because they want to do the job. A lot of times, a lot of insurance agents come in, want to be insurance agents. They don't know the laws. They don't know how to protect their clients. So what they do is they do a lot of things that they don't know what they're doing. So with this CE, which is not much, I think it's like 32 units a year or every 2 years. If that can be implemented, and I'm pretty sure with her background with certification of teachers, they can pursue that and have qualified insurance agents out there, and not people who think they can do it and want to do it, get a license, and are out there selling insurance when they don't know what the benefits or the hazards of being insured. So I am in support of Ms. Beth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Logan, for that endorsement. Last but not least, Ms. Trixie Nahalawa.
Happy Day Chairperson, Senator Perez, Senator Talahi, and Senator Marsh Taitano. Good morning, my name is Trixie Nahalawa, and I am here in I'm here today in support of my mom's executive appointment by Governor Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio. As a daughter of Leah Beth, I grew up privileged to be a witness firsthand in the obstacles, challenges, and chapters in the life that my mom was able to face head on. She attended the University of Guam full-time as I was a toddler. She was my role model and instilled the importance of education. After receiving her master's degree at the University of Guam, she became the University of Guam Career Placement Officer. Her accomplishments in her career was to match college students and individuals to match them to the businesses, companies that fits them best. Ever since then, she grew the ability to get to know people, and her sense of networking became stronger. She is now the project director with the Guam Department of Education and College Pathway. Today, we have students here who have worked in our program, underwater robotics, Lego robotics, STEM. They have traveled and represented the Guam public schools. She instilled in me also to give back and the importance of giving back to their community, because when we're blessed, we should be able to share it with people around us. She served as the president of the Student Government Association, known as SGA, in the University of Guam. She served as president of the Filipino Community of Guam, which is the umbrella of the many Filipino organizations on this island. And because of her accomplishments, even appointed as the director of Department of Labor back in 2010, she was recognized as one of the most influential Filipino women in San Francisco, California. So these are to list a few of many contributions she has done in the community. She is hardworking, dedicated, loyal, punctual, caring, and she loves on people around her. So today, I am in full support for her nomination, and I ask for your support as well. Thank you so much for your time and your consideration.
Thank you for all your testimony. I do want to appreciate you accepting this nomination, and it's quite clear that you have a long service of public service and you're dedicated to whatever project that comes before you. So thank you for accepting the nomination. I would like to open the floor to my colleagues for any questions. Senator Terlahi.
Thank you. Thank you also, Dr. Naholoa, for accepting this nomination. And before I ask you any questions, I do want to congratulate you on the very successful pink ball that occurred this weekend and sold out again.
Thanks, guys.
And that you are really helping our community in regards to cancer care and very needed. Yes, and Harvest House this year was also a beneficiary, so thank you for that. That's been a very big concern also of the legislature, so I thank you for your volunteer work in that capacity. And I'm glad the students are here because not only are they traveling for these STEM and these competitions, but they are really doing well. And so I want to make a note of that. And that's kind of side to our business here today, but I am very proud of them and very proud of your work, and I know that you often accompany them and ensure that they are going to do their best. So I want to thank you for all that work also. And I also have known you very long and in different capacities, so I was interested to know what I was going to ask you, what do you believe the classified employees' role on this board should be? But I'm glad to hear in your testimony that you've already thought that out, and education is an actually great fit for you in particular and for the board, and that and I'm glad Mr. Logan was here to also back that up because education, and I'm surprised those are not implemented yet, so I hope that you will assist in getting those implemented right away, and the other board members who are here. But it's a great service. I think education of the community and as everyone testified earlier, insurance in particular has huge impacts on everyone, and navigating the system is, I think, sometimes impossible. And I know that, like for the government, we have a person at DOA that's supposed to help us when we have complaints with our insurance carrier under the government. And we used to have, but I really think, the more assistance we can provide. And I think education is really the key to that. So if everyone understands going in, kind of what you guys see as the parameters, and that anything that deviates from that, that they have some kind of recourse, then that will be excellent and really very much needed right now. When insurance has become, particularly health insurance, has become so challenging, so I think it's particularly with cancer patients, right? So even that experience, I think, is also going to help, because you've seen this, you've seen what they have to go through, and you've seen that, I think, it's that navigation that's almost impossible for even me. I find that to be very difficult. So I'm glad that will be one of your focuses. And I just I hope that you will be, you've had a lot of community experience, and I say bring that to the table and challenge everyone there that they've been in the industry. We've got, the board is comprised of members from the industry, except for the attorney member and the classified employee member. The rest are all members of this industry. And so it's a big challenge to the two of you to kind of, make sure that these industries are not just taking care of themselves, but really taking care of all of us. So it's kind of a big burden, and you have to, deal with people who, a lot of them have been on the board for quite a while. So I think new board members have a kind of a unique challenge, because, boards, they're saying, oh, this is how we always do it, things like that. But I'm hoping you'll be able to, that's not going to be an issue for you.
And senators and Madam Chair, I commit to you that I will work with Dean in providing this awareness to our consumers. As I have, thank you, Mr. Art Ilagan, for mentioning that. I also thought about what am I going to do as a classified employee representative. But the more I think about it, the more I read the law, I think I can contribute. And the number one concern that our consumers have is really the insurance, because they don't read the fine print. And, just providing those, information, like fact sheets to our, frequently asked questions to our consumers, I think that would help. And we will work with, different insurance companies on what they offer and what's covered and what's not. Because sometimes, like I said, some of our consumers, they don't read. It's not that they don't read, it's just too long for them to read those documents. And maybe they just need a little bit of understanding. If we could make it consumer-friendly, those information, I think that would be a big help. And I will work on, and I commit to doing that. I will, for as long as I'm there, I think 6 years is enough for me to work on that. So I commit to you that we will work on doing that.
Thank you, Dr. Naholoa. One more question, I want to put this on the record. So you did acknowledge that your husband has been an employee longstanding on the Bank of Guam, and yes, we did hear testimony from Staywell, and I just want to hear from you directly. Do you think that your associations with any of these companies is going to impede your ability to serve on this board or create a conflict?
I can guarantee you, ma'am, that it won't be.
Thank you, Senator Terlahi. Senator Marsh Taitano.
Hafaday, and again, Sujus Maasi, for everyone for being here. It's so important to hear from a variety of people who have known nomination candidates in a variety of ways, and that really helps create a fuller picture so that we understand the qualifications and what each candidate is potentially bringing along with them. So as I was looking through your application and your resume, we see that you have a wide variety of skills. You've worked for the Guam Department of Education as this project director. You've worked for the judiciary as a court interpreter. You've worked for the University of Guam. You've participated in a number of organizations. You are published, which is not always an easy thing to do. It means intensive research, really having mastery over a particular topic. And your EDD is in education leadership. So all of these really tell us that you bring a wide variety of experiences and skills to be sharing on the board. And it is important to hear how you think that you can contribute, because those are important areas and important concerns that our community has. Most all of us, I would hazard to guess that we find our insurances very complicated. And if somebody knows how to go into that complicated landscape and break it down so that we're feeling more and more aware and really understand where we're at, that is such an important contribution. And I'm sure there will be many other ways that you contribute as well as you get in there with your variety of skills. And then again, as I had mentioned earlier, those testimonies for people who have known you over the years, they say all the things that's important for us to be hearing about your diligence, your commitment, your passion, your inclusiveness, that you're fair. And so that when you say things about following through and not having this conflict of interest, those are good indicators that you have the ability to really respect the division that needs to occur between personal life and those commitments and the commitments of the board, and knowing when to recuse yourself and those sort of things. So I'm very pleased that you have accepted this nomination. I think you'll bring a lot of good qualities with you to the board should this nomination go through. And from what I've seen your work, I think all of us senators up here have attended some of the outreach and the underwater robotics and other programs that you've been putting forth recently, and we've seen your hard work and the payoff of it. So I think that we'll all end up being pretty supportive. Sejus Masi.
Thank you, Senator Taitano. So with that, I would like to, again, thank you for being here and providing testimony, and more importantly, accepting the nomination for the next 6 years. And I thank you to all who came out in support of Dr. Naholoa. And so without, if there are no further testimonies, I would like to recess this committee. Sejus Masi.
Thank you.